And right now, the so-called Doomsday mom, Lori Daybell, is in court in Arizona for sentencing on a murder conspiracy charges. Daybell was convicted this spring of conspiring with her late brother to kill her fourth husband in 2019, as well as conspiring with her brother to kill her niece's ex-husband in a failed drive-by shooting that same year. Prosecutors say she faces life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years for each conviction. And she's already serving life in prison in Idaho after being convicted in 2023 of murdering two of her children, Tylee and JJ. So for more on this, I want to bring in our legal contributor and trial attorney, Brian Buckmeyer. And Brian, what are we expecting today?
So today what we're expecting, Alex, is for victim impact statements to be given. Those individuals who were affected by Lori Daybell's actions to speak to her indirectly in the courtroom, or even directly looking straight at her and informing her of what her actions have done to her. Then she will be given an opportunity to speak herself. We already know that she's spoken a lot in this case, cases actually, representing herself pro se, and ultimately the judge will have their say as well and render a sentence after being found guilty of two separate different cases of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree.
Well, and as we mentioned earlier, I mean, she's already facing life in prison in Idaho. Is this symbolic?
Symbolic, I would probably not be the word that I would use, and the reason why I say that, I understand from a sentence standpoint, if you're asking the question of how much time really matters in the sense of what she'll be serving, because we already know in Idaho she's serving a life sentence. But the reason why I steer away from the symbolic term of it all is because there are different victims in a different state here. That Lori Daybell has now been convicted of crimes that she's committed in Idaho and crimes that she's committed in Arizona. All victims in those cases being equal and all having the right through the state constitution and even just morally to have their time in court to hear what has happened to them in terms of the injuries that they sustained from this individual. And so I think regardless of how much time she serves or where, them having that time is proper and appropriate in any way.
Well, and Brian, I guess like what happens now? You know that she's tried to exhaust her legal options, but is an appeal even a viable option at this point?
So appeals are always viable in the sense of you can write a document and send it to a higher court, but will it actually have any leg to stand on? Will there be actually any arguments that Lori Daybell will have to have a successful appeal? And I imagine the answer to that is no. We know that in these last two cases in Arizona, she represented herself pro se. Is she going to raise an ineffective assistance of counsel claim, the very common claim that I would raise an appeal? Maybe, but she'd be calling herself ineffective. And in essence, she was given an opportunity to have an attorney to represent her, and she exercised her right not to. And so while she might have an appeal, I don't think it'll be a successful one. Ultimately, what's going to happen here is she'll be actually sent back to Idaho to serve out that sentence, the longer of the two sentences, and will have to face life in prison for her actions there in Idaho.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you as always.